Hello, it's my 23rd birthday today. Maybe no one likes you when you're 23. Not that anyone liked me beforehand, but I did last year a 22 things I learned by 22 video, and it was kind of stupid. It was kind of corny, but I actually liked doing it in a way of like reflecting upon the past year and things that really stood out to me. And this year it was pretty easy actually to sit down and write out 23 things that are pretty like deep. Like, this is not a bullshit like, oh, I realized that cooking something this way is like, no, they were actually pretty deep, and like 23 things that I'm getting alerts for Ethereum for my trading view that I'm trading and I have alerts. But anyway, this year's 23 things I learned by 23 that I want to share are a bit more profound. I've had an extremely difficult year. You can say it's the epitome of like first world problems of what comes with success. But 6 months ago, I was trying to take my own life, and I promised some loved ones I would make it to 23 as a way to quell their worries and kind of, push myself. And I'm here, and a lot of what I have to share is coming from the depths of that. And I figured I would do this as like a little get ready with me. I don't really want to edit this. I want to get it up on my actual birthday. We'll see if that happens. Depends how fast my best friend's manicure is, or her pedicure, so that we can see if she comes like while I'm filming this or not. Let me get out my little mirror here. So I'll do. I didn't get that. Oh my god. That was like the whole thing was typed out on Siri. Basically, I'm going to do a little get ready with me, talk about my updated makeup routine, since it's probably changed since like 6 months or a year ago whenever I did like my everyday makeup routine. Not every day, because I don't wear makeup every day at all, but when I do get ready, like what my makeup is like. So I figured I would do an updated makeup routine. It is like 5 p.m. now. I have a dinner tonight, but I want to have a few hours of filming. So I'm going to do my makeup now, going to film some TikToks, etc. I just had an acai bowl, so I hope there's not acai all over my mouth. I think I'm okay. So I'm starting out with the Anastasia brow definer. And all these products, from what I understand, are, they are, cruelty-free. If they're not, let me know. Generally, some things will change. Someone will tell me, I'll learn, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we all make mistakes, so just tell me if something isn't. From what I understand, these are, because I don't change my products often at all. So I'm starting out with the brow definer. I'm just gonna, like, fill my eyebrows in, and I do this very lightly because I have good eyebrows, so I literally just barely shape them here. And the first thing that I learned that I want to talk about is how absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I know you might have heard this saying a lot, but my perspective is that whenever a lot of energy is growing into something, it kind of tends to cannibalize itself. And by corrupt, I don't mean like bad, I just mean that the intention is like corrupted. It's not pure anymore. That when there's a ton of power, a ton of control in one area, that will tend to subvert itself. So in the way that I realized this, I've just seen this increased need for decentralization, because I think that a lot of the world's problems that we're blaming on like what seems like the issue, whether it's, like, I don't know, I think a good example of it is capitalism, that people say they're anti-capitalism, and I think they mean more anti-centralization, because capitalism is just like free trade between people. It's when that conglomerates into like a monopoly of one power having the control over exploiting things beneath it, because it's not always the case like that. I think the big thing I've learned, and what I see as like why I tend to be more like anarchist, which seems to be the most like, weird as it sounds, the most logical way of running things a lot of the time, is that absolute power corrupts absolutely, and there's like not a way around it. That the more centralized energy is in one place, the more it's going to corrupt things. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking a little bit of this concealer. It's actually this is a sample. This is not cruelty-free, but sometimes literally samples are sent, and I like to use them up on areas that I don't need like things to work well. This is a random Makeup Forever concealer in like a travel size that I'm just using all over my lids to set and like cancel out some colors. And the second thing that I learned is, this is a big one. So to be careful of the groupthink tendencies of any social justice group, because I have seen over the past year with people coming after me for things that I'm not even like against. Like, I remember I took everything out of my bio, like literally everything, including BLM, and people thought that I was somehow anti-BLM, and I literally had people like trying to come to my door being like it was so insane. And then I actually, researched the movement, and, things are, once you wake up to the media being heavily skewed and like leftist insanity, it's kind of like there's no going back and you can just see through the veils and things like that. But I'm now seeing how well-intentioned social justice movements tend to get co-opted by people that can profit off of their radicalism and like profit off of just the division. So be careful about any centralized social justice movement, because often the absolute power will corrupt it absolutely, and it will not end up being in your best interest, even though well-intentioned people will think that they're, on the right side of like history and whatnot. I can even see this with like, I don't know, like I am like vegan and fully like I am vegan, but I can even see it with like weirdness of like people co-opting the vegan movement for insanity, which is just like, I don't know. There's a lot of fringeness that tends to get the power in these groups. So the worry about social justice groups is the groupthink. So I tend to just try to stick to an individual and not speak on behalf of larger movements, even if everyone else is being pressured into feeling like they have to align with movements because the name or like whatever is, they'd feel social pressure to identify with them. The third thing that I really realized is that mainstream media is disgusting. And I say this in a way where I would not have, like, my past thesis, and I just set that with, like, I set my concealer with this Wet n Wild, this is old, this is a contouring palette. I set the concealer with the cream shade, and I'm about to put in my crease the bronzer shade, because I use the bronzer all over my face. So the third thing is that mainstream media is disgusting. And I would not have realized this until I blew up and mainstream media came after me and just insanity, because my past thesis was mainstream media has the most information at hand. I'm going to trust them more than alternative outlets because they have the most information and therefore they can make the best, most like informed like statements. I now completely disagree. Like, I mean, when I say I disagree, like I've just seen what they do. They tear apart people that just sound like normal people, and they glamorize this weird, obsessive, politically correct way of speaking where if you don't sound up to date with, if I can't stress it enough to someone who doesn't already know, like mainstream media profits off of your guilt and your obsession with fear, and it's just disgusting. So I cannot stress it enough that the mainstream media is just like yuck. I'm now going to draw a wing with the Kat Von D tattoo liner. I do this like kind of like down here, but what I do is I draw a line and then I fill it in basically, so that's how I do that. And the fifth thing that I'm going to say as I do this is that everyone acts rationally from their point of view. And I think that's important. Like, if you're not already someone who's heard that quote, let me wing this out. So see, I do like a little wing and then I just fill that in. So I think that quote is important because no one is acting thinking, I'm being stupid, I am being hurtful, I'm being illogical. Like, I am not someone who sees what other people do that's different than me and thinks, they're a stupid person. There's always a perspective that led them to that. So I think realizing that is important because, like, no one is acting out thinking, like, I'm a lunatic, like, this is hurtful or this is stupid. Like, even if they're saying that, there's even, like, a meta logic behind them that only makes sense from their perspective. So giving people the benefit of the doubt and not acting as if people are, like, not getting triggered and being like, I don't know, you, like, stupid, harmful person, but actually understanding that people act from their perspective and their rationale and everything. You cannot, like, treat that like they're idiots because then they'll just, it doesn't make any sense. So I've done one eye here. It's really easy for me. Like, I've done this so many times. Let me make that a little darker. Like, you just wing it out, like, and then I do this side. And the fifth thing that I've learned, oh my god, this is going to be a hell of a long video, isn't it? Is that studying war and battle is very useful even outside of like military context. I'm someone who's been interested in war and battle for so long that for me it's kind of like, yeah, no shit, like I love reading about these things. But it wasn't until I really began managing like money and trades at a high level and also running a team and like a business that I realized that a lot of what I read in things like The Art of War or even more like fiction-oriented historical fiction books, like I'm thinking of like All Quiet on the Western Front or A Farewell to Arms, which is my favorite book, which isn't even like combat war related. Like the main character of A Farewell to Arms is actually like an ambulance driver. Learning about war and like researching how battle is like oriented, I think is very helpful just in terms of mindset because you become more objective. and it reminds me of stoicism a little bit. So now I'm taking this concealer brush that I just used all over my eyes, and I'm just sharpening like the wing. I like it really, really sharp, so I do this slightly afterwards if it's not up to my standards. And the sixth thing is kind of quick, but I don't think that risk and reward are a binary. Like, it's not like you are either taking a huge risk or you get a reward. Like, I think that basically you should risk as much as you think is going to be rewarding. I just think it's like a common like misconception thinking that like huge risk means possible huge reward. Like, no, like you should risk if you think that there is a huge reward, and that means it's not a risk. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I don't think risk reward is a good binary. Basically, that's what I have to say. Seventh, this is one that I've been talking about a lot like throughout my life, but I think is really important now when I see adults infantilized. Like, I'm almost like anti-safe space. Like, I don't know, I just feel like online this like trigger warning, safe space ridiculousness had a point initially, and now it's just gotten to insanity in my opinion. And so I think that like you cannot depend on anyone other than yourself to save you. You cannot depend on anyone other than yourself to show up for you generally. Like, bless your heart, but I think that this infantilization of adults is like it is a pandemic in and of itself. So now I'm taking these baby Coco lashes. Shout out to baby Coco, thank you for sending me these. I cut one lash in half, and whenever I'm like going out to an event and I just dropped one and I don't know where it is, fabulous. Am I literally gonna have to go get new lashes because I don't know where this lash line, oh no, there it is. It's on my socks. Shit. I'm here, I'm good. I really don't want to edit this video, so I'm not gonna cut that out. Basically, I take a normal lash and I cut it in half, and then I put the outer halves on the corners. I get eyelash extensions, but if I'm like going out, I put a little oomph in the corners, if you know what I mean, because I like the way that looks. I'm using the velour lash glue. This is the best. I've talked about this for years. But yeah, I think that no one is gonna save you but yourself. You can't depend on anyone but yourself. I'm not saying don't ask for help. I'm just saying like grow up. Like, people, like, I don't know, I think that it's easy to look at me and be like, oh, what the, like, grow up, like, you had it so, like, easy, whatever. I don't look at anyone and assume that, because I think that, you know, there's no way to address or, like, know that. I just know that for me, my own life, what I tend to think is that there's a massive infantilization of adults going on, and I don't depend on anyone but myself in large part. I know that that's a lesson that I didn't have trouble learning and that I can teach others, whereas like learning to accept help is one of my lessons and something that I am doing. So I put the lash glue on the lash itself and also on my lash line, and then I literally just like put it in the outer corner. It's really simple. This is an easy thing. So the next thing is kind of in line with that, where what is revelatory or a big deal to someone else does not have to be a big deal or a lesson to you. Like, I don't know, like, I think of this kind of in the infantilization of adults thing, like this idea where a lot of people have a realization of like, oh my god, you can ask for help, like, I do not dream of labor, like, blah blah blah, you don't have to work. I'm like, yeah, but like, I fucking want to. Like, not everything that's a huge lesson for someone else has to be a huge lesson for you. So it's not like, I don't know, we all come from different natures and nurtures to where things are bigger deals for different people. And so with social media and every infographic trying to be like a life-changing epiphany, it can be okay to be like, that wasn't life-changing for me. Like, I already knew that. Like, that's not hindsight bias always. That's just like, I don't know, different strokes for different folks. So now I have both ends of like the lashes on. Yeah, that's that. Actually, I might film part of a TikTok, because I'm doing like TikToks for my whole like day of my birthday. I'm doing like transitions. So you'll see me like actually film a TikTok in real time here. Let's see what's next on this audio. Okay, if you know this audio, you know. Just gonna keep this in. Okay, yeah. So next we'll do... So I'm just do transitions like that. I'm doing 3 different audios, and I'm gonna see which one I like at the end for this like transition thing. Okay, there we go. So like all all my turns. I'm doing 3 different audios and I'll see whichever one I like best. So next I'm going to use my Angel Veil NYX primer. This is like the same thing as the Hourglass primer. I use both depending on if I'm shopping at Sephora or CVS, but the NYX Angel Veil is like a really good primer. I look for these like poreless primers. I don't really look for either oil control or glow. Like I prefer more poreless looks. But number 9 is actually something that I realized over the past year as well, that social isolation is a pandemic. Because when I was like deep into TikTok, I mean like posting 14 videos a day, completely in my own world, the social isolation like led me to kind of, when we live in an online world and social isolation is present as well, I think that it leads people to radicalize in a way that's unnecessary. And I say that because filters will lead you down a media rabbit hole the more time that you spend alone without people. We don't get to these extremes when we're conversing normally. So I think social isolation is a pandemic. And I mean like literally like not talking to your Discord friends, not talking to your Twitter friends. I mean like actually getting out in public and talking to people is so important, because it's when I was literally like trying to kill myself that my in real life friends became so important, and that my entire life was saved because of just having sane people around me to be like, this is insane. And it was that. So I truly think that social isolation is a pandemic. And I think that as someone who's dealt with that, who tends towards that, but it's a pretty like, I'm introverted, but I'm very like amiable, and like I get out and I express myself. I find that it's like necessary to do that, or I will cannibalize my own mind. So now I'm going to use the Smashbox Studio Skin Hydrating Foundation in 0.3 undertone neutral. I think it's the lightest shade in the neutral undertone. Usually the lightest is like a pink, but I don't have pink undertones, so I use the neutral, which is usually the second lightest. And I'm just going to use that like with a beauty blender all over my face. The 10th thing I learned is that the lack of education around personal finance is also a pandemic. There's like a reason why literally like even my friends who went to Stern and were in business school, like they were not even taught the kinds of things that I've learned on my own about investing. And I recommend everyone read Rich Dad Poor Dad. If there's one book I recommend people read, it's that, because Robert Kiyosaki is amazing. He's the kind of guy where he's just a normal person. Like, he's kind of hilarious and doesn't get it. Like, he tweets about how he's like, I think there was something on Twitter about San Francisco being like, everyone with kids gets the stimulus unless you're like a white family. And Robert Kiyosaki was like, people are going to call me a white supremacist because I think there's an issue with this, but I am a Japanese 55-year-old man. Like, he's just like fucking like, he just talks like a normal person and doesn't care for like extremes with like being PC. So he's amazing. Like, I think Robert Kiyosaki is hilarious. And he's like, he's talks about how he's 50 and like all these 25-year-old women love him, and he's like, I'm not going to pretend to not be into it. Like, he's very, basically, Robert Kiyosaki's awesome. Learn from him. Learn from his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I think that the lack of education on personal finance is beyond a pandemic. It's like intended so that you just have no idea what you're doing, and you're kept owing the government things. You're kept hoping to make more money instead of invest more money, which will keep you in like a circular loop because you want your money to work for you. You don't want to be holding it, blah, blah, blah. I basically just recommend that you read Rich Dad Poor Dad and learn about investing, assets, liabilities, etc., so that you are not kept in a cycle that's not your own fault, but is largely due to the education system failing you. So my holy grail concealer is Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I use this in 12 and Fair Neutral. Basically, if I'm ever using a product, I'm the lightest shade that's a neutral tone, which I'm not like yellow or pink toned. I'm just like neutral, so I use that. So this is Tarte Shape Tape God Tier Concealer. The 11th thing is kind of a weird one, but it's that a stimulus will adjust to the environment of whatever is thrown at it. So for example, like someone who is used to swimming like miles and miles a day, they're going to have a much greater lung capacity just by like evolution and what their body like kind of like needs. I put on a lot of concealer just because this is running out, and so there's not actually that, it looks like I put a lot on because it's like a thin layer. I usually like, it wouldn't look like this, it's because I'm running out of that. So then I just blend this out. But what I'm saying is that like the hedonic treadmill, like you can only take so much, either good or bad, before your body literally gets used to it and will make sure that it's not a big deal anymore. I say this as someone who went from losing sleep over one mean hate comment to having the Rolling Stone completely take me out of context and take an interview with me and then like bullshit claims and make a huge ordeal out of it, to where I was trying to kill myself like across the world when this came out. Like, it was so bad. But you literally get used to it. Like, you literally adjust. And this is how politicians and whatever, they don't literally have like cardiac arrest over the kinds of campaigns against them, because you will adjust to the amount of stimulus that you are given. And I think this is important because it will not be all great forever. It will not be all terrible forever. You will literally either even out and or get used to it, so that you like will respond to your environment. This looks really light right now, but I'm evening it out. Like, it won't look that light in a second. And the 12th thing is that, actually, I realized this more recently, is that saving a bunch of money endlessly without buying anything for yourself makes no sense. It's one thing to be smart and compound over time and not let your spending outweigh your saving. Like, a lot of people increase their spending as they increase their income, which means that you're not actually saving that much money. I mean that, like, if you're not taking any profits along the way or treating yourself ever, it literally makes no sense, because you're going to look back at the end of your life and you're going to like make all this money and be like, I never lived. So literally when I thought I was going to kill myself, I started spending money because I was like, fuck it, I want the first class flight. Like, I want to fly Emirates and see what it is. And then you do it and you're like, I can't go back, basically. But it is on a more like just normal level. I think it is important because you can save all you want, and then if you're left, you know, with like just at the end of your life not having bought anything, it's kind of like, yeah, you have the generational wealth, but you never treated yourself. And now I'm going to take this palette again and use the cream shade and set my under eyes with it. The 13th thing is that the universe, the world, source, whatever you want to call it, will send you a bunch of small signals around something until it has to give you a slap in the face if you don't respond. This is not weird or esoteric. This is literally like, if you're doing something in your life that's causing a problem, it's going to have little ripples, and then all of a sudden it's going to blow up. So like me working nonstop, not having a life outside of just like TikTok and views, and literally going into a depression when my old account was like shadow banned permanently, basically. That led to so many signals that I needed to stop, until literally it was like the world did not believe all of this work was my own. So I literally just had to like fend for safety and reroute what I was doing with my life. And so that is like one example of, you know, that happening, where the universe will have to rear its ugly head, but you're not responding to little signals. Now I'm using the Kat Von D Beauty Fair like all over powder. I barely use any. I literally tap it and then tap it all over, just because I don't need the shine control. I just like want it to last. So I use a tiny layer. So I just do this and then place it all over. The 14th thing that's I learned is not to be so available. I don't mean this with bullshit of like waiting before you respond so that you seem busy. Like, no, I don't do that. I mean, literally, like, I am someone who, when people ask me to hang out, even if I am in the middle of something or I don't want to do it, or like it's just not my vibe, I will be like, oh, I'll be right there. And I noticed that other people don't do that. And at first it was because I was hanging out with a lot of older people. Like, all my friends are older. They're generally much wealthier, more professional, more established crypto people and like finance people. It's kind of just like the friends I've developed over the past year. And they're just able to go out and do things that, not even like that I don't want to spend money on necessarily, but that I am just like, I'm not into, like, I don't know. There are a lot of times when something would be offered or be done and like they don't do shit unless they want to, but like I would be like, oh, this needs to be something I do because I'm networking, or I need to surround myself with people that I want to be like one day. It's like, don't be so available. Like, be available when you're available. Don't I don't know, I tend to, Neptune on the ascendant, not have boundaries with like my identity, which I have boundaries with like relationships. Like, I don't like getting too close to people. I have problems with that, actually. But when it comes to like, come do this, I'm like, oh sure, I'll be right there. Now I'm taking a bronzer brush and the dark shade of this Wet n Wild palette, and I'm just going to dust this on like the outside of my face to give me some color back. The 15th is something I've talked about for a long time, but basically every trigger is your teacher. So like, this is something that I think I learned through philosophy, is like anytime I'd be like, oh, that doesn't fit my bias, or like, oh, I'm prejudiced against that thought, like that makes me want to be like, nah, like that can't be right. I learned that that's an opportunity to refine my argument, because now I've said for a while that I want the universe to obliterate my beliefs over and over, and people on the internet don't like that. Like, I'm someone where I'll be like, that sounds idiotic, like I'll comment that if something sounds stupid. I'm now contouring my nose, I do the sides, and then I do 2 lines and then the bottom half. Where, like, on the internet, people get so fucking triggered, and I'm like, no, I want to have a discourse. Like, I'm not triggered. I want to learn from you. So basically, like, any discord or disresonance is an opportunity to learn, and I think that the more that we can be playful and actually see that, I don't know, just, like, I don't look at people on the internet who I disagree with and think, like, oh, this person's a fucking idiot. Like, I'm like, wow, that's so different than what I think. Let me see where they're coming from and learn more. I don't know, like, always. And I've just kind of trained myself to be that way, and I think that that's vital, and thank you, philosophy degree. The 16th thing is that I think everyone should learn a second language. I've talked about this more and more with a lot of friends who know, like, Mandarin or Arabic or other, languages they learned off of living in Asia, because I have several friends that just, like, I don't know, they got into finance, they lived in Shanghai, etc., and now are back in New York, and a lot of the things that you think about come from the language you have to classify that. So, like, people that have different languages can literally think of more realities because they have more words that are more context specific. So in, like, ancient Greek, how they had multiple words for love, they literally different categories, whereas we have to, like, it's different. So yeah, learn multiple languages, in my opinion. I only know English and Spanish. I would love to learn Arabic when I'm off in Dubai soon, not because you need to live there and learn Arabic, but because I think it's beautiful. So I recommend everyone learn a second language. And the 16th thing, actually, I use my Kevin Aquan contour powder in medium on the cheekbones. This is like Holy Grail Kevin Aquan contour medium, another Ride or Die product. I think that everyone should own crypto. This is not financial advice. This is just, like, everyone should own money that is not subject to the manipulation of the government, because if the government prints more money, etc., your money value goes down. This is the simplest argument to why I think everyone should diversify with crypto in some amount, because you want something that's, like, not in the purview of that. You can learn more with, like, my crypto videos, and I think What Bitcoin Did is a good podcast as well if anyone wants to learn. Like, there's a lot of good resources, but I'll drop the idea in case anyone is not on the crypto bandwagon yet. Just, I would highly recommend learning about the banking system and why it could be and is advantageous to build wealth outside of it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. So I don't do very much contour. It's just kind of, like, there to accentuate where the foundation has kind of evened me out, washed me out. I'm now taking NARS in Orgasm X. This, I'm taking the blush. I love a lot of NARS blushes. I love a lot of the Orgasms and, like, Deep Throat and all their, I usually go for peach blushes. It looks good on my face, so I just do, it's very pigmented, so I do a really light amount. On the 18th, I think that you should study and surround yourself with people that you want your position to be at one day. This is also something that's been, a lot of these are more intuitive to me, and I've spent some time realizing, like, what has gotten me to work this past year, or, like, my brand, everything to where I am, and a lot of these are, like, intuitive. Also, when I put on this blush, I do it just kind of, like, all over, because I think that it looks better when there's, like, a little peachy tone to the center of the face. I don't do the apples, or, like, I just do, like, a kind of a general all over. Surround yourself with people and friends who are in positions that you want to be in one day. You will naturally, without even thinking, begin to develop the habits, lifestyle thing. You're the average of the 5 people you spend your time with. So if those can be, I don't know, like in my case, like crypto whales, I'm like, okay, I'm learning, like, how do they think, how do they trade, etc. It's important to find what's important to you and surround yourself with those people. The 19th thing is to respond to the present, not to the past. So a lot of people live their life responding to things that already were, or things that, like, were, like, a lot of people live their life responding to what they're familiar with rather than where things are going. So just a reminder to be present. And if something feels like you're fighting against innovation, then respond to the present, not to the past. Like, learn from the past, but in this moment, like, what are you responding to? You're responding based on, like, past trauma and programming, or you're responding to actually what's in front of you. I'm using the Stila Kitten Heaven's Hue highlighter. I've used this for years, like years. It is, like, it's kind of a jelly formula, but it works very well on brushes, so I use it. So yeah, I recommend this, and I like to load up on highlighter. Let me, like, get a TikTok kind of thing while I'm doing here, so we can get a little bit of a transition for this. let's do all of these. I'm just gonna be here while I do this. Video version, I'm sorry for anyone watching. I'm not gonna edit this out. This is authentic. Okay, one more. Okay, we're good. So the 20th thing, we're almost there. The 20th thing that I have learned is that generally what makes the most sense is the simplest theory. Like, over the past year, with the amount of like media circulation and just craziness going on, the things that I have just generally acted upon have been the simplest theories, and it's been insane to see so much of that go out the window. Like, I don't know, I think a good example, and this might be controversial, is like the lab leak hypothesis. Like, I don't know if this happened or not. I'm just saying this is an example of like where the media censorship did not make sense. Like, the simplest theory, if there's literally like if there's literally like a viral lab in Wuhan and there's like a mass, like, it makes fucking sense. The hypothesis is just valid. And so the fact that that was censored and acted like it was this insane conspiracy is like, no, this is a valid hypothesis, like, along with other valid hypotheses. So like, the simplest theory possible is generally the best. Like, some of these mental gymnastics that people use to reinforce their beliefs are really astounding, and not something that makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. So yeah, this is like the highlighter. This is basically that. And then I use a setting spray. I use a setting spray after I do that, and then I'll use a brow. I use the NYX brow gel in, like, let me get it out. I use the NYX tinted brow mascara in espresso all over just to set my eyebrows after I do that. And then the 21st thing I noticed that I do that is just a revelation is that when you're really focused in your own path, you're literally not going to bring other people down. I don't mean this in terms of like you won't comment on other people if you want to be critical or whatever, but the kinds of people that make the accounts, even if they're like pointing out something valid, but the kinds of people that make accounts that are like, this person exposed, or like, look at this what this person said, or how they edit their photos or something, it's like, those are actually the sad people. Like, no one who's busy doing their own thing is going to take the time to like, there are people where I'm like, oh yeah, that was like wrong, I don't think that should be said or called out, and I'm like, I don't care to deal with that. Like, I don't care to be the person who polices other people. I think that, like, if you are finding yourself down rabbit holes of tearing other people down, or like scrolling on like celebrity, like whatever, you know, that's about you, that's not about them, because it's so easy to manufacture things about people that cater to these like, oh my god, look at this person, like that kind of thing, that if you're down that rabbit hole, you know, it's not, it's generally not them. It's like you, whether it's you or this other person that's doing it, that's the issue. So the only things I have left are like a little bit on my eyes and my lips, but I want to go do my hair. So I'm going to go straighten and curl my hair, and I will be back very shortly. All right, I'm back with my hair. What I do is I have naturally like loose wavy hair. I have the kind of hair where my baby hairs, and when my hair is like very, very short, which I haven't had since I was born, it's very curly, it's very fine. I have a ton of it though. So like, my hair is not thick. I'm burping. My ponytail is though, because so much of it, but because it's so fine, it is as curly as it is short, or as straight as it is long. So when it's long, I just have like loose waves that kind of like start kind of kinky here and then like go out. So I don't like the way that looks generally. I mean, it's fine, like it's like looks fine if I'm going for like a messy everyday look, but I straighten the top half and then curl the bottom half and hairspray the shit out of it. And I like ruin the ozone layer with, I really don't want to stand up. My legs are dead after today's solid core class. This Jacob solid core, shout out, you're like the best, most based. I don't know what I was saying there. Anyway, I'm gonna do my eyes now. What I do is I take two eyeliners. I take a light brown and a black. I do the black in the corner, barely, and then smudge the waterline with this. I do not look good with the white in the waterline. I do not look good with white and waterline. I look much better with a light brown just because it looks like solidifying. So I take this Jumbo Eye Pencil by NYX in 601 Black, and I literally like do this. I do this. I barely tap it. Like, I don't even know if you can see, but I barely tap it. And then I take the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in 609 French Fries. It's called French Fries, and I barely smudge. Really just the bottom half. I don't know if you can see a difference. It's just barely like grounding my eyes, I think. So the 22nd thing that I've noticed, and now I'm using like a very old mascara. This is just like any old mascara works, just for the bottom lashes because I have eyelash extensions on the top, so I use like any old mascara. It's like rubbed off. In real life, this is the 22nd thing I've learned, in real life is always more valuable than social media. I mean always, and it took me 1.5 or whatever, how many total followers I have now combined, to really notice this, because at my worst, all I had were the people in real life. Like, it generally does not compare having people tell you they support you on social media versus like one person in real life. The exponential value is so much more. So for those of us who maybe have built up a following on social media and have a lot of that in terms of like follower capital, it actually doesn't mean anything in comparison to like a few people in real life. Even the idea of like the 1,000 true fans really speaks true to the value of like attention and quality over quantity, and in real life will always beat social media. I mean, like always, guys. And I've like lived the life, posted the pictures, and like in real life always beats it. So now I'm gonna finish up with my lips. I think I'm gonna do an actual like lipstick, not a liquid lip, because fuck it, like they're not mandating masks in most places anymore, so I can actually do a glossy lip like I'd like to. And what I'm going to say for number 23, actually first we're gonna lip line Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Pencil in, what's this one called? 714. In 714, I overline, everyone knows this, everyone overlines. I overline the bottom and the top, I'll show you. I have like good hand-eye coordination from growing up playing softball, so I do it really quickly and I memorize the line of my lips. And then I barely overdo the bottom. I literally just go underneath the curve. Like it's so small. Do not flatten the curve. Exponentially grow the curve. And then on my top lips, I just go barely over my Cupid's bow. And then I go down. And I am so used to seeing like lightly, like it's a lightly overlined lip where it's just like slightly over the border. I'm so used to seeing that to where I don't even think it's weird. Like everyone on social media does this. It looks better in my opinion. Like it just, yeah. So, and I don't line all the way to the corners because if I ever line the corner, since I was such a small mouth, people are like, oh my God, like stop putting in the corners of your mouth. I'm like, it's not, but I get it. So I don't even touch there. So the 23rd thing, let's dab it. I'll show you actually, let me do this and then I'll show you. So I take Urban Decay F-Bomb lipstick. I put it like center. I put it mostly all over, but then I take a lip brush and actually put it all over. It's a very creamy, very great feel. Like, I really like the way this feels. So yeah, I just like spread it all over the top, and then with this lip brush I do the bottom. And I'm gonna go back in with my liner and actually like end some of this. And what am I talking about? I meant like smooth it out in the corner. Okay, yeah. I like how this looks. So I did the lipstick, and now I'm going to do Lime Crime Maraschino Cherry. I barely do any lip gloss. I do like a dot. Boom. I haven't done glossy lips in so long. This is nice. So the 23rd thing, and what I do want to talk about ending, is that this is a quote, if you've been with me since like day one, maybe you'll remember this, that the quote is, To improve is to change, to perfect is to change often. It's from someone else, it's not mine, I don't remember whose, it's off of like a TV show, I think. But it's showing, kind of in line with the more stimulus you have, the more that you're able to take on and adjust. But to improve is to change. Like, to improve means you're changing, means you're taking in new information. And to change often is to perfect. Like, perfecting is to change often. Like, perfection is literally like non-stop refinement. So for those of you who might be like I am, where you feel like you've been in a place where you need to change things in order to grow, like, I am taking, like, it would be so easy to stay in this apartment literally forever, in the sense that I have a great COVID rent deal. I could stay here forever. You know, it's comfortable, but if I want to move to like bigger and better things, the market, like, where I need to be is somewhere in Asia. I know that with the kind of thing I want to do, and I love Dubai, and no matter how much, like, you could say cheaper it is to live there in a lot of ways, which it is compared to New York, it's not like it's not scary to like pack up everything. I mean, I'll fucking do it. Like, I'm the person who, like, I'll fucking do it and figure it out. But like, I'm gonna lie and not say that it's kind of like, oh my god, like, I have to pack things and put them on like a boat or a plane and ship them to the fucking Middle East. And I'm a little bitch from Texas, so to improve is to change, to perfect is to change often. And my current trajectory is, if I do want to get to the things that I want to do, I need to change at a faster rate. And it's exponential growth. I've been changing a lot. And fuck it, this apartment might be cute. It might have been cute for a little, like, witchy Instagram following. But if I want to do like the massive like things that I'm actually building and like literally can't even talk about, like, I need to be in Asia. So that's kind of my, to perfect is to change, or I'm sorry, let me quote it. To improve is to change, to perfect is to change often. And this is the final look. Hair is hairspray to filth. Let me get a video of like my birthday outfit, because it's really cute. Alright, so we have the outfit. I filmed this and then realized that I wanted these straps crossed, so I redid it. But basically, it's this skirt and this top are both from Princess Polly. I saw an ad on Instagram and I really liked them, so yeah, Instagram marketing, I fell for it. Or, I mean, I appreciate, like, I like seeing what I like to see. The bottom, I think, is their own brand. This is from Jagger and Stone, the boutique on Princess Polly. And then I have it with these shoes here. So yeah, this is a bit like different than a lot of outfits I wear, but I like it. So now I need to figure out what underwear to wear so this doesn't show, because I like never wear underwear with normally like my yoga pants, leggings, like no, but when you go out, so that's my concern. I'll figure it out though. So yeah, it's been a rough year, but 23, 12th house perfection year. It might get fucking rougher when I enter a level 2 difficult period on zodiacal releasing. Like literally what can happen? I could lose everything, I guess, and yeah, I'm not even gonna go there. But I thank you for joining me. If you were able to like not thumbs down this video, wow, you were a strong one. I appreciate all of you. I do, like each and every one. Like when I recognize names, even if it's a hater, I'm like, oh, I recognize them. So yeah, I appreciate you. Sending love. Happy birthday to me, and yeah, take care.